Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video we're going to be talking about how the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 compares to the Asics Novablast 3. We'll take you through the key differences between these shoes, the types of runs we think they excel at best, and ultimately let you know whether you should go for this shoe or this shoe. So let's get into it. So here's a quick rundown of the key differences between the max cushioned Gel-Nimbus 25 and the daily trainer centric Novablast 3. The first is priced, with the Novablast 3 coming in cheaper than the Nimbus 25 in both the UK and the US. The drop is 8mm on both of these shoes, with the Novablast 3 weighing in lighter in both men and women's versions. In the midsole department, Asics uses FF Blast Eco Blast on the Nimbus and FF Blast Plus, which does influence the types of runs that these shoes excel in. Upperwise, the Nimbus uses a knit one, while the Novablast uses jacquard mesh in its upper. Both feature an AHA outsole to deliver strong grip on dry and wet road and pavements.
On the fit of the two shoes, they're both quite roomy, but with the Nimbus 25, it's a good roominess. It's about right for a big cushion shoe like this to use for easy runs. I'd certainly say go true to size in that shoe. The Novablast is maybe a tad too roomy. I didn't really mind using it at all for all the runs I did in it, but I think you could probably go half size down and get a slightly better fit just because that toe box is quite long. But I had no problems with either shoe in terms of the hold around the midfoot and heel.
So fit for me, I would say go true to size on the Nimbus 25. Based on my testing, I've had no kind of real issues. I think you get good space up front of the toes, good hold in the midfoot as well, and that knitted upper is ideal in terms of giving you that level of comfort and I think hugging your feet in the kind of right places. With the Novablast 3, and I'm fully aware this is the Novablast 3 TR. Tom still has my Novablast 3, but I think this applies on both versions of the shoe. That I think it runs a tiny little bit long, I would say, and that was kind of what I felt in my testing. So I think you could entertain, a bit like what Nick said, going half a size down in the Novablast 3, and ultimately you're getting a mesh up on here, which obviously sits a little bit different on the foot compared to the Nimbus 25, and it kind of maybe feels a little bit more supportive in the kind of, you know, and structured in terms of what you're getting here. But ultimately I would say, yeah, Nimbus 25, go true to size based on my testing, the UK size 8. My testing on the Novablast 3 and the 3 TR, I would say you could go half a size down based on my UK size 8. So into that run test, and what I would say about the Gel-Nimbus 25 first and foremost in comparison to the Novablast 3 is that this shoe is definitely built with comfort in mind. I don't think it has the same versatility that you have on the Novablast 3. I think if you're looking for a shoe to kind of go, you know, run comfortably, kind of easy, long, this is what you get from this shoe, the Gel-Nimbus 25. I think the type of cushioning that you're getting here and how that feels underfoot definitely caters more for kind of going easy, you know, prioritizing that comfort along with that kind of knitted upper that you're getting that kind of feels, that kind of sits very snug around the feet. And I think the sock liner as well kind of adds to that kind of plushness that you get on here. In comparison to the Novablast 3 and the 3 TR, now you are getting something that I think you can run a little bit quicker in. I think, you know, main reasons being it is definitely a little bit lighter, and I found it a bit more of a struggle to run quicker in the Gel-Nimbus 25, and I also thought when I tried to pick the pace up, it just felt a little bit flat for me. But I think if you want something kind of coast smooth, kind of easy paces, then this shoe is very well sorted, the Nimbus 25. Now with the Novablast 3, I think you're getting a little bit more of that kind of energetic bounce from it, a little bit more of a lively ride. It's maybe not, it's definitely more stable than the Novablast 2, a little bit. You've got the stability, I think, and kind of comfort in the Gel-Nimbus 25. But I think if you wanted a shoe that could pick the pace up a little bit more, the Novablast 3 feels like a better shoe to do that. That's kind of what I felt. I don't think it's the best kind of daily trainer in terms of giving that versatility that are out there, and particularly in kind of Asics other kind of shoes, or compared to other shoes in the Asics collection. But I think you can, if you wanted to run a little bit quicker and do kind of tempo style sessions in Novablast 3, I'd have no kind of qualms doing that in this shoe. With the Gel-Nimbus 25, I found it a little bit more of a struggle to do that. I think if I just wanted something to go out and run easy, long, no pressure in terms of that running time, then I think that does this well. I think you can do that in this shoe as well, but I think if you want that capacity to run a little bit quicker in those runs, you feel like, oh, you know, maybe I actually want to run the last part of my run a little bit kind of, you know, a bit more breezy pace, and I think you can do that, and it feels you're getting a nicer kind of ride in terms of that feeling. on the Novablast 3. Now, in terms of other things, I would say, I've got the 3TR here. Now, they outsole is a big difference from what you're getting on the Novablast 3, but I think it really kind of applies really across the two shoes. I think with the Gel-Nimbus 25, I think it felt fine in terms of that grip, kind of dry and wet conditions. It's the same thing with the Novablast 3. The Novablast 3 TR maybe gives you a little bit more durability, I think, in terms of that outsole, but I think ultimately in terms of the level of grip, I think you're getting something similar. I think you could go off and go, I would feel more comfortable running kind of lighter trails if I had to with the Novablast 3 and 3 TR, whereas I think maybe with the Gel-Nimbus 25, I would stick to kind of road time. But I don't think there's a massive amount in terms of what you're gaining on the outsoles. You know, there's similar Asics outsoles they're using here. They're just kind of different patterns, but ultimately I think in terms of the level of grip, they're going to be very similar. So yeah, for me, I probably enjoyed my runs more in the Gel-Nimbus 25, but it's definitely different runs that I'd say you enjoy running in this. I say slow, easy, comfortable runs. Whereas I think with the Novablast 3, if I wanted a shoe that I could run easy in as well, get a nice kind of smooth ride in, also feel like a little bit more of a bounce in that kind of ride as well, then I think you get that here. I think you can run long in it as well. I think while it's not the most energetic or most exciting ride in Asics kind of daily trainer collection, I do think it's noticeably more prominent than it is when you're running at pace in the Novablast 3 compared to the Nimbus 25.
So I've had the opposite experience with these two shoes in that I was a very big fan of the Novablast after one run in it, but have gone off it over time, whereas the Nimbus I've really warmed to after not loving it on my first outing in the shoe. I found it just a bit boring and dull on a long run, and the ride wasn't that impressive, but actually I've come to really like it, especially for those long easy runs on tired legs at the end of a week. It is a max cushion shoe, but it's not overly squishy or unstable or anything like that. It's fairly soft. It's got a really good balanced ride that allows you to tick through those long runs very comfortably, but without being that intrusive. If you're just going out for a nice easy run, you can really forget about it. It's got a little bit of sink in, but not a huge amount, and it just protects the body well on those long runs. It's not a versatile shoe. This is a max cushion shoe for easy training. It's less versatile than the Gel-Nimbus 24 was, but in a rotation where you've got other shoes to handle your speedy running, this works very well as your easy day shoe. One of the shoes you could use for the rest of your running is the Novablast 3, which is more of a daily trainer. It's a lot lighter than the Nimbus 25. It's got FF Blast Plus in the midsole as well, but it's got a different feel to it. It's tweaked to be more responsive and bouncy, and that makes it more suitable for faster runs, and that's how I felt after one run in the shoe. It felt like a very enjoyable, bouncy shoe that was going to be really versatile, but actually since then I found the ride has really dulled for me, and I'm just not a huge fan of it for faster running. Like, it doesn't really feel like a great daily trainer to me. It's fine for easy runs and just mooching about. You can do those runs really well, and it can do faster stuff. It's just not that enjoyable for it, I find. It's just a bit big. It's not heavy, but it actually runs a bit heavier than it is, where I think the Nimbus runs lighter than it is. And while it is more versatile than the Nimbus, it's not a lot more versatile. So I actually think the runs that I enjoy most in the Novablast are those easy runs where you want the extra cushioning, similar to the Nimbus, but the Nimbus does a better job of them because it's a softer shoe, it is more comfortable, and I find it just gets out of the way and lets me run a bit better, whereas Novablast I'm a bit more aware of on the foot, and not in a way that I really enjoy. Like, I thought it was going to be very exciting and fun to run in, but actually that's not been my experience of it after that first run. And one last note on the run test for these is both of them I found were very slick on the first run. The grip wasn't very good, and that's the Novablast in particular has had quite a lot of criticism for not gripping very well. Neither are outstanding in terms of grip, but actually I found that since those first couple of runs in the shoe, the outsoles have roughed up, and I've had no problem using on the pavements and roads since then, even on wet days. So the grip isn't a massive positive feature to them, but I don't think it's really a big negative once you get over that initial impression where they are quite slick out of the box. So these are two shoes built for different purposes, but I think there is a lot of overlap here. Like, the idea of having both of these in a rotation just really wouldn't work that well for me, because I find them both best for being cushion shoes for easy runs. Novablast is that little bit more versatile. It's more of a daily trainer, but I don't think it really stacks up well against the other daily trainers on the market. I think you can get lighter, more versatile shoes that are just as good for cushioning, but better for faster running and just have a bit more about them in terms of bounce in the midsole. There's things like the New Balance Rebel V3, the Hoka Mach 5, the Puma Velocity Nitro 2. I just enjoy ticking along my daily miles in them a lot more, and certainly pushing the pace in those shoes is more fun for me than in the Novablast, which I find just a bit big and blocky. Now the Nimbus is a max cushion shoe, and it's not versatile either, but it's designed to be an easy run shoe, and it does that job tremendously well. So within the max cushion category, I think the Nimbus 25 is one of the best shoes available there, going up against things like the New Balance More V4 and the Nike Invincible 3. And I really like this shoe. So if you are just looking for a cushion cruiser shoe, this will do the job really well. If you are looking for a daily trainer, I think Novablast does an okay job, but there are shoes on the market that I prefer to it. And if you ended up with both of these in your rotation, I think you'd be lacking a really good shoe for those faster daily training runs you want to do. So I'd probably, if I was building a rotation, would get the Nimbus 25 out of these two and then go to another brand to get a more versatile daily trainer. However, if you are just looking at these two shoes and want one of them to cover all your runs, the Novablast is the more versatile shoe. It is definitely cushioned enough for easy runs. It does that job well, and it is lighter and more responsive than the Nimbus 25. So it's the more versatile pick there, but there's a lot of overlap here, and Asics' range with this FF Blast Plus foam, it's going in lots of shoes, and all of the stacks are increasing. It's actually, I think, becoming a little bit harder to really put shoes in specific roles. Like on paper, these two have very specific roles, but I think they both tend towards being cushion shoes for easy runs rather than being very versatile daily trainers, where something like the Asics Magic Speed 2 would be the shoe I'd pair from Asics' range with the Nimbus to build a better Asics rotation rather than using the Novablast 3 myself. The other thing to say, I suppose, is that if you're looking at them purely as cushion shoes, Novablast might appeal to a lot of people a lot more who don't like max cushion shoes. Like, it is a very cushion shoe, but it's got a slightly firmer ride than the Nimbus 25. I don't tend to love max cushion shoes for all my easy runs myself, and the Novablast works very well as just an easy day shoe. So if you're just looking at them as cushion shoes, there's a difference in ride feel there, where the Novablast might appeal more to some people than the Nimbus 25 does with its massive stack.
So my verdict on the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 against the Novablast 3. And what I will say is that if we were looking at the previous Gel-Nimbus, I would say it would have a little bit more in common with the Novablast 3. I think, you know, it's still a max, or still was a max cushion shoe, but I think it had that kind of more versatile nature to it, a bit like what you're getting with the Novablast 3 now. And then Gel-Nimbus 25, it is definitely a shoe that I would just use for my easy, slow, kind of long runs where comfort is the kind of priority. And you're getting that from that kind of feeling of that midsole foam, which definitely feels more plush than it does on the Novablast 3. And that upper really feels comfortable to wear and kind of slip into. Now, in terms of the Novablast 3, I would say, yes, it's definitely the more versatile shoe. You can run slow in it, you can run a little bit quicker in it. I would, you know, have no kind of qualms, you know, running kind of tempo style runs in it. I think the ride kind of lends itself to that a lot more than it does on the Gel-Nimbus 25. It's lighter, so allows you to kind of do that. But ultimately, the shoe that I would probably spend more time in and would probably replace another shoe in my kind of rotation would probably be the Gel-Nimbus 25, because I think in terms of those, if I wanted a shoe to run kind of comfortable, kind of easy, kind of long miles, I would grab this. Now, in terms of this shoe and having something that, you know, allows me to run a little bit quicker or kind of ease off in one run, or go out and, you know, change what I want to do in this shoe, and I think ultimately there are probably better options that feel a little bit nicer to run a little bit quicker in. I think things like the Asics Magic Speed 2, which Nick also mentioned, I think you're looking at Asics collection. Now the difference I would say is that fits, I think, a little bit more narrow, and in terms of that hold in comparison to the Novablast 3, but I think you've now got the level of cushioning on the Magic Speed 2 that means you can run a little bit slower in it or easier in it, but you also have a shoe that's nice to run quick in and you can race in as well, and it's a light shoe as well. Now we also got to talk about pricing. Now this is kind of 160 or 170 pounds. Now you're looking at this, so this is definitely cheaper. So if you're looking for value, I would say this is probably better value for me, but I think in terms of the shoe that I would probably use mostly over the other shoes that might be in my rotation that kind of fit these profiles, I would probably say the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25. I still think this is a very good shoe, but I think in terms of my kind of how I would use these shoes, or whether they would replace other shoes that kind of fit the same criteria, it would be the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 for me, definitely. Okay, so there you have it. That is our take on how the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 compares to the Asics Novablast 3. Now, if you want to see any other shoe comparison videos of either this shoe or this shoe, let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next run testers video.